event photography, it's one of my favorite style of photography to do. And a little shameless plug before we carry on. I recently had the opportunity to fly out to Dublin, Ireland to do my first ever event outside of the UK, which was amazing at the most iconic venue in Dublin, the Guinness Factory. I want to say a massive thank you to the event planner for booking us and giving us this amazing opportunity. More on that trip and how that trip went coming soon. If you'd like to see that video, make sure you subscribe. But for now, back to this video. But there's one common issue that I find when it comes to photographing events, and it's not something that you recognize very early. It takes some time, and doing more and more events, you will see a lot more LED being used as uplighting to give the event itself and the space itself a certain ambience, a certain style, a certain vibe, but also the LED being used by the DJs. And although this looks absolutely amazing, shout out to all the event planner, by the way, you guys do a fantastic job. So this particular video isn't a dig at you guys, but more so an explanation as to why LEDs aren't necessarily the greatest thing when it comes to event photography and video in general. And the one common issue you will find is inconsistency with skin tones. Like, you can go from one corner of the room and you get really good skin tone, and then you go to another corner of the room and you take basically the same image, and it can look completely different. And this stems from the way our cameras kind of operate. And most cameras and most people will use their cameras on auto white balance, and this is good in certain scenarios, and especially if you are shooting raw, which gives you that creative control after the fact to tweak colors and make them, you know, look as natural as possible. But within event photography, this isn't a great thing to do and isn't a good setting I would personally recommend. And it took me some time to actually get to know that and understand that through shooting more and more events. So in order to help me combat that, there's two things I do. One is much more important than the other, and it makes it a lot easier for me after the fact, once the event's done, if I was to make overall changes or widespread changes on a bunch of images that were shot in, let's say, the same room, as we say. So the first thing I do is arrive early. I will try my best to make sure I get there as early as possible, at least an hour before the event is due to start. By arriving early, you give yourself that time and that room to come in early and get your camera set up, get your settings kind of dialed in, so you know roughly where you are in terms of your setting and what the images are going to look like once you start capturing, because you don't want to be fiddling around with settings while the event is going on, because that's when you may potentially miss an opportunity with something happening, you know, behind you or in front of you. And for me, one of the most important things I recommend doing, and something I do on every single event shoot now, especially if it's something that goes into the night, into the evening, and that is set a custom white balance. I cannot stress enough how much this comes in clutch when it comes to making any sort of tweaks or alterations after the fact, because if I tweak one image, I know that is going to work across the board on all the other images. The colors and everything is consistent, and I do this in two different ways. I do this by using a gray card, which you can find on Amazon, the cheap £10, $15 gray card that you can find on Amazon. Most of them come with like a gray, white and a black card, but you can also get just the gray card itself. And I will take a picture of this to help me set my custom white balance, so that I know every time I take an image, I don't have to worry too much about skin tones. And if anything, if I do need to make any kind of changes, it's usually very minimal. But if you don't want to buy a gray card and you're a Sony shooter, then you're in luck. Your lens cap, that's actually a 50% gray color. So you can use your lens cap to set a custom white balance on your camera. Shout out to Sony for that, by the way. That's super clutch. I don't think any other camera brand do that. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but if it was, hey, I'm all for it. I genuinely enjoy using that, especially if I forgot my gray card.
and I know I've got a lens cap in my bag, I can just pull it out and do exactly the same thing. So it really helps out. In terms of camera and camera setup, I do this to both of my cameras. For events, depending on the size of the actual event, I will either use 2 cameras or 1 camera. I will have either the 28 to 75 Tamron on 1 camera, and then I will have the 70 to 180, which gives me that scope to both get a wide shot of the entire room, but also if I wanted to, I can then stay far away but still get really nice detail or close-up shots of someone or something happening slightly further in front of me without encroaching into the guests and being all up under the guests. So that is usually my setup. I also tend to use a speed light on my camera, like an on-camera speed light, and that gives me the opportunity to keep my ISO at the lowest possible setting, which means less noise in my image, and also it gives me really nice light on my subject. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.